Hello, this is Hauser. I'm your host, Mike Hauser. It's very hot. It's hotter than a witch's, like, stove. I don't know. My guest tonight, who I'm excited to have, is poet, artist, musician, jack of all trades, or if you will, Zach of all trades, Zach Pieper. He's going to join us in about 15 minutes. About 15, 20 minutes. Crockpot. That's what I meant to say. There's some kind of weird, makes it sound like I'm in a dungeon. There's some kind of weird effect. This is the prepared statement that was prepared for this broadcast. America, I've given you all, and now I am everything. That was not a fair exchange, no. I've given you half of nothing, and now you are driving the bus over a cliff, and a gorgeous one at that, which reproduces painful lyric and a merciful ending to the scene in which I smooch a whole smorgasbord. In the memory, things come clean. In the memory come clean things. I'm not sure of their purpose. I know they are meant to be proposed and battened and lightly battered in the gas station breading, as we call it, bonding, buying hair dye, falling down steps, cooking in the oil and the eye. People, $50,000 in student loans. I'm so tired of having responsibilities. I want them to grow little wings and fly away. Like, why mention celebrities who torture me with their image? But then, like, why resist this sandwich cake that is so delicious and that slices so fine and melts in the mouth like a half-formed culpability? We must have it, or it spurns its maker, like Richard Marx, comatose on landing gear, inherited from the spinster's new hobby. My band now is called Spinster's New Hobby. I'm language poet extraordinaire Mike Dexter, or Mike Dexterton. Have you ever had a skin tag? God, those buggers. Little buggers that are literally the excess you always hoped for. Today, I wore these boat shoes my father gave me that were really painful to walk in and were ripping the flesh off my heels. Had I been a floater, I'd been all right. I'd have been all right. Had I been a floater to be there in When Tongues Are Tied to promotional efficacy, which I'm unsure is a word, but I'm sure that floater is a word. Two definitions of which I can think of, or rather usages maybe, or context, are for when you are a turd in a toilet that won't go down, the turd, not the toilet, that is, and for when you are a person in a daycare facility who must go from room to room to room, red, blue, red, already said that, green, yellow, as needed in order to meet ratio of adults to children required by law. This is going nowhere, and I'm sweating a lot. Leaning on the stall door of the couch, as in where lexically each new object in the poem will be assigned a stall door quality of varying degree, as it first appeared in Frank O'Hara, The Day Lady Died. Frank Ocean, the R&B singer and member of the Odd Future Wolfgang Kill Them All hip-hop collective, came out as bi yesterday, or rather he came out, I guess, as having had a relationship or crush on a man, or of having been in love with a man. I have never been in love with a man, but I've had sexual thoughts about men. I like the easy transference and mildness of constant flights away from truth. I don't like infectious disease or investment bankers, though I don't really even know what they are. I'm trying to figure if the above means I would marry a man. Frick. I'm on this, which is not easy. And I wonder if the above means that I'm the most repressive person in the world, only toward myself. Here are some things I know I like. Big blank spot of commercial purpose. My comport, which reads hard to figure obtuse mergers with unloaded content of muesli and cadaverous repartee, a mild luck reaming my hiding ass fungus. Some of this is just wastes of words. I don't think it's about vulnerability, really, at all. And people won't fall in love with you under these shabby circumstances. So I think, okay, the circumstances need to change. No big deal, except wit is a congealed substance in filaments of my heart, making it harder to breathe. This really is the only thing I know how to do. Here for you, what I'm doing. Here is a poem I wrote about a month ago, named after a Grimes song that I don't really know how to pronounce, called Were Guild, and it was written for the Midwest Small Press Festival's romantic Nut Factory theatric portion. It was written for the occasion of the Midwest Small Press Festival. That Thanksgiving Eve, your grandma was like a lush download of the necessities of life. A high-resolution video of waterfalls in the old country. It calls not for introspection, but for breakdancing at will into a stone-cold millennial creamery. Lest we get too speculative, I'm going to relate to you through all of the skilled and come so damn easy to him engineering of this poem that there's a moment in Were Guild by Grimes where it is like romping in the most perfect music video imagery, where lest I rhapsodize and stream my profligate joy in an unsightly way, the air and schema of deep appreciation merge into a glowing display that advertises complete bliss. The way one of those vintage beer ads that show beer logo interposed with gushing waterfall are so wonderful in the beginning of a bender. They appear to be showing a reason to drink beer, but in reality, they are showing you a reason to respond to a waterfall. Here is a waterfall your grandmother invented in 1943. See what a streaming wonder it is. And here is a sugar shock-induced stock image on your desktop that is what it would look like if Kesha and the old world had a baby. But that was then, and now we're in a different moment. It's like one of those phones filled with candy, and how candy has this way of making you speculate about its existence, even as you are old and feel old, really just like a dated holographic waterfall. And because we are contemporaneous, This illusion brings us to holographic Tupac, the most adorable thing ever. It's like the material fact of trance. And don't forget the obvious and even barely noticeable, or in any case narratable lushness of your grandmother's wedding dress on her wedding day. TV, now barely recognizable, has become as beatific as ambition itself, and ambition as beatific, in turn, as flowers in spring. Something as simple as flowers in spring, and fragrance, a real worrier. Your grandmother's wedding dress fills itself with itself, like that scene in Beetlejuice, where Gina Davis is brought forth from the dead via a spell to become animated and fill her wedding dress. Then she ages and goes through organic succession. In your rippling bedroom, where once there were mountains and space to grow, and this fourth generation reproduction of Julie Andrews, there is a tiny gurgling need to buy things. Your very meat trembles at the insight. It's like a loan extension peppered with already existing tranquil exurban driveways, but somehow brighter in this moment than the others. Fourth generation reproduction is now vivid, but not in the way an MP3 is more vivid than an analog recording. No, there is this sparseness between lines of definition that is more titillating than advertising itself, a path that is hard to follow. Real estate development blooms dreamily out of the past, like if David Bowie and venture capital had a baby. Grandma would like to come out of the sky of the past to meet you, but she thinks she'd blow your mind. Like those rippling, rushing streams of salty effluvium in the topography of your grandma's wedding dress on her wedding day. So does this second-person extemporaneity allow me some license I'm currently unaware of? I could, go on forever, and the buzz clip would recede. Now a wedding dress, now a streaming video, allowing yet more development of the type that erases the old world in one looped fell swoop we can still hear, like this babbling hysterical brook in the distance. It's the beauty that causes men to sing the entirety of Bohemian Rhapsody in the back of a cop car. It's the beauty that causes men to chew each other's faces off. It's like if wayward viciousness and haute couture had a baby with serene speculation and freshly squeezed orange juice. But here I'm supposed to be addressing the fact of lusciousness, of lushness, as a familiar scent that reproduces itself, a spritz from the plug-in. You feel the freshness. In this moment, return to your fave image surrounded by lush, aphrodisiacal whimsy. A waterfall gushing out of a wedding dress, walk through in designer shoes, and self-discovery in the completed deprivation of a colon cleanse. I want to return to this feeling of the greatest music video imagery, which is not the same as the greatest music video. Obviously, either a total eclipse of the heart or the look of love. We were self-conscious pilgrims searching for lushness in technology. Our mixes were beatific and redolent of martyrdom. I feel a luxuriance in continuing to spin these fictions for you. But we know we'll have to turn the music video imagery off. These same attributes that cause pain will turn out to be set each among the other in playlists that will feel as ancient as the world itself. Memories whose resonance can be restored at any point, like breezy hill stations, like calls to bear down and together, like that at first shaky condolence of bodies formalizing ecstatic data. The info is a cache of new and ancient technologies, amounting to a semblance. I don't know if I'm trying to relate this cut or stitched together. I've been away from allegory for so long. going to read now a poem by Frank O'Hara, and then a poem by Wendy Trevino that appeared in a copy of OMG, which was handed to me by Brandon Brown, which he edits. And the poem by Wendy Trevino is sort of a current reboot of the poem I am about to read by Frank O'Hara, and the poem, another poem by Frank O'Hara, which I mentioned in the prepared statement for tonight. So see if you can guess which one it is. First, by Frank O'Hara, poem. Lana Turner has collapsed. I was trotting along, and suddenly it started raining and snowing, and you said it was hailing, but hailing hits you on the head hard, so it was really snowing and raining, and I was in such a hurry to meet you, but the traffic was acting exactly like the sky, and suddenly I see a headline. Lana Turner has collapsed. There is no snow in Hollywood. There is no rain in California. I have been to lots of parties and acted perfectly disgraceful, but I never actually collapsed. Oh, Lana Turner, we love you. Get up. And now a poem by Wendy Trevino, also called Poem. Santander Bank was smashed into. I was getting nowhere with the novel, and suddenly the reader became the book, and the book was burning. And you said it was reading, but reading hits you on the head. So it was really burning, and the reader was dead, and I was happy for you. And I had been standing there a while when I got your text. Santander Bank was smashed into. There were barricades in London. There were riot girls drinking riot rosé. The party melted into the riot, melted into the party, like fluid roadblocks and gangs and temporary autonomous zones. And everyone and I, and we all stopped reading. I'm going to bring on Zach now. Come on up.
Oh, this thing's
So,
okay. Hello. Hello. Can you hear me through the headphones?
yeah, it's really echoey.
Oh, we'll put that away. I brought this thing to use.
Okay.
What
You're
was
going to
the-
read some poems for us.
Okay. What was the last poem that you were just reading?
It's in OMG by Brandon Brown. It's
That's
it's
amazing.
not.
He edits.
Yeah,
Cool. I noticed that
it's
the last
poem by Wendy Trevino.
I noticed the last poem was using Frank O'Hara's. What's that famous one?
Yeah,
He laughs really
Lana
hard at
Turner has collapsed.
as the structure, right?
Yep.
I like the idea of, because
Yeah.
his poems were seen as being very casual, and he always talked about being structureless. I kind of like the idea that you'd use his idea of structurelessness as a structure.
Yeah,
Which is kind of cool.
I think they translate very well.
This mic is, everything's
Yeah.
falling apart here.
The mic is falling. It's a fledgling operation.
Okay. Yeah, it is. It really is. No. It's pretty hot in here, actually.
Do you want to start by reading some poems? Or
Okay. Sure.
Okay.
Well, let's see. Okay, Are you sure you can hear me right now? I can't hear myself in the headphones. It's kind of odd.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Through the headphones too? Oh, they're all up.
Yeah.
Ah,
I don't
sounds
think.
good.
Yeah.
That's the best tone.
It's very echoey and dungeony
Yeah.
tonight,
Well, I'll just read a couple that
like
I'm
a
not.
hot dungeon.
I'll read some newer ones that I'm not sure about.
Okay.
Just this one is called Just Three Things. Just three things. One, it's not fair. Heidegger doesn't deserve it. Two, science and religion as subcategories of each other have like tons in common as talking points, right? I mean, I think you're saying both share like this common goal to prove there is no such thing as accidents. How about to kiss and rub our owies? 3. Transitions are nice but expensive. Smooth transitions are pure money. Donations suggested and welcome. 3. The apparatus you are now holding, scanning, drooling over, installing, transplanting, back ordering, standing beside or above a page or a screen, shellaxing, ornamenting, standing behind, above, or below is soon to become completely obsolete, you guys. 3. The problem therein lies the movement of how do you say that? Phenomenological nature is like, say, a moving carousel distorting the shapes perceived under it. 3. This is important. This means something. This is not a reference. And that means you, Justin. And that's one. And then lots of paper shuffling and heavy breathing.
That's what radio is all about.
It really is. Well,
It really is.
I like saying it really is.
It really is what radio is all about. I would like to incorporate more paper shuffling into Hauser, especially as like a way to make a point, like
Yeah.
on the Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah, we gotta
and what have you.
emphasize. These are a lot of points.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah. So like, I made that. And I think other people have obviously done this. Lots of people have done everything. But I made this poem where the form were tips, and I showed you some of those.
Uh-huh.
And I have a poem that's kind of like a sister piece to that poem, and it's called Sorry Folks. Sorry folks, this machine eats money. FYI, this machine is made of money. Whatever doesn't kill you only makes you get out of the way. This pained and plain look, the way the animals look up at me. The calliope is really a hearse. The gazebo a luxurious pup tent. Can a soul be ruined? Who said that? Hey, why ruin a ruined thing? Each man's day comes last. One man's wages are another man's entire breakfast. Singing folk songs in the shower won't save you on water. Every time someone orders a pizza, the internet gets its wings. 1 second thought. Nothing is permitted. Everything is new. On third thought, fourth thought, best thought. Hey, you broke it, you bought it. More people is what I am. What I am is not only what I am for. The question supposedly concerns who I really am. You should buy more fake play Monopoly money. It'll work well for this piece. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. You can't be the speaker and the spokesman too. Hey, literature... Never mind. Note, I am not kidding. And that one's called Sorry Folks. And I don't know if that feels done to me. I never know when something's done. But
I
I'm
was
getting
wondering
ready.
if how does everyday speech and vernacular influence your writing?
Well, I think I have been influenced by the idea of a vernacular, whether I want to be or not. Because I read, when I was younger, I read like Wordsworth's preface to the lyrical ballads, and I read Coleridge, and I read all those European romantic people, and they talked about that. And but I didn't really understand William Carlos Williams till later, and I didn't understand what he meant by it either. Sometimes he used ordinary speech. But I guess I am one of those people that, like, when I read a lot of 50s American writers, I kind of crystallized that idea. But now I've
you seem to use it. I mean, in your writing, I think you use it other than as a means of self-expression.
Yeah.
Is what I was trying to get at.
Yeah.
You kind of use it as building blocks and materials.
Yeah.
These kind of everyday things that
that's
people
true.
might say in an exasperated tone, like, "Oh, what are you gonna do?" Or
right. Yeah, I'm interested. I'm interested in stories, but I'm also like, I like the idea of songs and lyricism. I always think that what I am is like just a plain lyric poet, but I also like stories. So I think that those two things are always pushing against each other, because I only like part of the story, and I also, yeah, that's true. I've noticed that a lot of times when I'm really writing are always just sort of lyrical songs. They're the way one speaks, all the they're musical elements that I like to express, because I like detritus and decay, and I like irrelevance, and or like making a context for irrelevance to give it a sense of relevance based on its own material coherence.
So, sort of working with a frame.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I've noticed a lot of times that I wrote something like really quickly, and there was like a structure lodged under it that I didn't notice. Like, for a while, it's like you notice you wrote like a sonnet. It has that little twist hitch at the end, and you're like, oh, I didn't know I did that. But I don't know. You can work with those things or against them. I don't know. I think I'm trying right now to think of every work as a kind of work as much as I can. I don't know, just to save me from going crazy.
As each distinct from the other?
Well, sometimes not, and sometimes yes. But that's a whole big, interesting question, because some people tend to have a vague idea of a book or a collection, or if you're to look into other, like a song cycle, or a sense of serialization and maybe even sequence.
Yeah,
but
how it fits into a larger structure.
Right, and I've done some works like that, and then also works that just kind of like are one-shots and float around, and maybe they become part of a structure later. I mean, how do you do that? Do you just start writing and you notice that there should be a lot of these, or just a feeling kind of?
I might start working with something that seems vaguely like a form that allows me to write more, or allows me to allow things to enter the work that I do find that I need to have a sense of a form. Yeah.
I dig structure a lot. I mean,
yeah.
It happens no matter what, though, oddly. I kind of also think that.
Yeah, it's self-organizing, but it doesn't necessarily help the writer.
Yeah.
To realize that sometimes the writer needs to make it literal.
Yeah.
Or be proactive about it, as they say on shows about how to lose weight.
Proactive, yeah. Well,
let's hear some more poems.
Okay, these are two. Well, I think these two would be very much sort of feel like they belong together, although I didn't write them at the same time, and I don't know why. And it's nice. They
look similar upside down.
They look similar sideways and upside down, and they have nice. They're sort of straight margin, and they're very abstract, but at the same way, I feel in some ways they're more specific than other things. I don't know how to explain it, but okay. Anything. Eventually, anything will do and does do, and your own anything is free to become everything else accordingly. Everything else exists, sure, elsewhere, but really is also actually anywhere, if anywhere else at all exists without you. Anyway, say anyone indifferent is other. Say your own other, crowding, say, the shelf, or mingling with the other so often talked about, the one most unknowingly attuned to its own mode of, I don't know, so-called elsewhere. But what I see is a screen and two people on the screen, and I say a song, here comes the chorus for the locals. Ah, the up and the down. Ah, the up and the down. Will be your own anything. Will always be there for you. A vow. A vow. I do believe beyond coming into any belief beyond what I do or don't do. In the beginning, you thought of what you did or were doing as open, though, and somehow willing to believe I was coming beyond myself and so very into exactly what I do, or maybe it was, I think, very telling, and now I do bring, I believe, beyond any telling I can do. In time, I will bring, do bring, and am myself beyond any telling, a certain calling, I can say both beyond myself and all belief, now existing, in place of you. Just want to say both end with the word you, which is weird. Hi, someone just handed me a flyer. Hello, I'm selling this deaf education system card to make living. Will you kindly buy one? Pay any price you wish. I'm sorry, sir. Well, I don't really have anything on me right now except a credit card. I'm sorry, I can't help you, but maybe after the show we'll talk to you. After the show. No problem, sir.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
Thank you.
This is kinda cool.
That poem broke my heart. Could you describe the pamphlet? I have a credit card, unfortunately.
It's diagrams. It's sign language signs with the words matched up with the words.
Yeah.
And they have the alphabet too.
Try to describe how one of the signs looks. Does it say what it means?
One of them kind of looks like a person curling their mustache.
Interesting.
It kind of looks like a Raleigh Fingers mustache, but I look closer and
what is that a sign
see
for?
that those are arrows. Cat.
Cat.
So maybe we should deduce from that cats are devious.
Yeah, a lot of pathos in that sign.
It's kind of like the classic villain with
yes,
with what's known in Hollywood as the Raleigh Fingers mustache.
Yeah.
Which only I call it probably, but handlebar mustache is what most people.
It's hard not to
call
think
it.
of Raleigh Fingers when you see a certain kind of mustache.
He was a scary looking guy.
Yeah, that might
And
be
he
regional, and maybe not.
He always looked like he was smiling when he pitched.
He does. He was he's the person that ties up the
creepy.
damsel and lays them on the tracks.
I think that's
Tied
what
up
made him,
Bud Selig and lays him on the tracks.
I think that's what made him an effective closer. Because
Also, his bobblehead was just through the roof. I mean, it was the most. It looked like they invented him from the bobblehead.
Yeah, but I wanted to say I think the fact that the off-putting fact that it always looked like he was smiling when he was pitching.
Yeah.
It probably kind of freaked batters out, and it made him an effective closer.
Oh yeah.
Your phone's ringing.
Oh wait. Where'd it go? Anyway, so yeah. So yeah, there were those two poems, and the last poem was a very sad poem where a gentleman walked in and handed us a pamphlet, and he needed a donation. It was for I think some kind of sign language course.
He makes a living by
selling sign language pamphlets. Fortunately, all I had was a credit card. That's hard to do.
Yeah.
But that was a very, I don't know, it's kind of a beautiful and I have to admit, sad poem. But
it is a sad poem.
I noticed that anything and a vow both end with the word you, which seems to me very traditional. And I suppose I should be scared by that I'm all old-fashioned. But I don't really care.
It occurred to me that when you say a vow, it's hard to just by saying it out loud let whoever know that it's one word or two words.
Oh, to avow or avow.
Yeah.
That's okay. I mean,
Yeah.
the opposite of something meets.
It can be either.
Yeah, something's opposite. That's kind of the point of abstract poems, or I would say maybe like philosophical poems. Or
Yeah.
It's like sometimes you find a strange music in the prosaic language of like philosophy or like critical theory, and a lot of it is hard to trace without knowing a very long backlog of critical authors. But I'm interested in the way that like an abstract word, such as one or you or all, sort of meets its opposite. All becomes nothing, and so on. And I like the way that something, when employed under the equilibrium of a poem, it all becomes the same. All the words are forced together in a strange meaning, which
how they
is
can sort of attain almost physical qualities.
And the voice, that it's because they make you pay attention to the way your voice works a little bit, or the inherent music in it. It's like all the opposites are made the same, or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel inarticulate tonight, but that's okay. I think like looking at poems makes you inarticulate sometimes. But well, I don't know. I have this is a work that I read.
Yeah.
I guess I could read this. This is like a book that is like about 4 years old. Some of them I started before that, and I realized it was a structure. It's a long poem that's made of very, very, very small pieces, and the idea of the book is that it is a book, and they're tiny little frames that are hung up on the pegs of this blank book. I'm going to try something with this.
Okay.
The poem is called, or the book is called Try Me, trademark. So that James Brown doesn't come back from the grave and try to sue me, I put a trademark, a little TM next to Try Me. Because James Brown could come back from the grave and sue. If someone's going to come back from the grave to sue you, it would probably be James Brown. Personally sue you.
Yeah. Oftentimes, celebrities in ghost forms become much more litigious. Because they're acting through their estates.
Yeah, the estates are the true form of the ghost.
Yeah, the true ghostly.
This true form of non-form.
Form of ghostly litigiousness.
Well, there's a lot of very small frames that make up this book, and what I find fun is to sometimes just find them, and you get this great thing where you shuffle paper while you're finding the next piece of the sequence, and all the sequences will create some effect in varying degrees based on the sequence. And every poem starts with a very short title. And then
are you going to use the sound effects in this one? Because I turned that mic off, actually.
Oh, hit that one.
Okay.
Hit it. All right.
Okay. Now your voice is going to be really echoey.
Okay.
So that's going to be part of the performance.
No, well, not exactly. I want to give a differentiation to the title of it, and it's not. Well, you'll see. Stock. His father bought stock. His father's brother also bought stock. He said, pretty soon you just start to pick things up. I was the only one born not knowing how to fix a 4-cylinder engine instinctively. Zingers. Here I give you eternally full-grown men with zingers. Greetings, unknown dudes. To what subculture do you hail and adhere? On, off. The trick is, always and forever, to jiggle it a little. Trust is a prosaic masterpiece, a toxic asset, sitting practically valueless and, ew, gross, lion-headed upon the national books. Gobs. Amongst gobs and gobs and gobs of sloppy spectral audience reaction shots. Here's the sound of shuffling paper. Feel it.
Really puts an accent on things.
Yeah.
Really ties the room together.
Feel. To cash in the check before it bounces. To transport you to another time. To see your careers flash before your eyes.
Did that say to see your careers flash?
Yeah. See your careers. Try one. One token mesmerized interface at a time, darling. Tip. To document my results in real time, I drew a pack mule, then erased it. Try this. Teen forum community poll versus gas station Pearl Jam. Ha 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 ha. Even flow on the epicenter. Your sweepstake college is offered, grandmother. A photo requirement surfaces Central Standard weekdays ago. Freedom rings, chimes, and dies in time to you, mother boopers. Try to grow your own interest capsule. This is appropriate for this medium. I don't have any plugs, but I'll plug. Some random sensibility here desperately needs to get itself told off on air. You know what I mean? Oh, yeah. Wait, this one is like this one is terrifying. But both were good and bad and absolutely born to do this. One. Okay. I got one for you. Oh, there's Sleepy G outside. What's up, Sleep?
There's Sleepy G.
We're near the window. This poem is called Gag. Somebody puts somebody's money where somebody's mouth is supposed to be. Pig. A fear face for the worst pain possible on the pain chart, on the scale of possible pain faces, son. No one. Thing is, no one dead gets a discount. Try me. So totally objectified my first time plus deleted scenes. This is where they get kind of really scary and where the form comes to the surface and it's terrifying, man. Belief is very, very necessary. Sight, life expectancies, etc. The overhead gets costly, but it's mostly also an affordable and totally accessible irony. Now, I know what you are thinking. Coverage, deductibles, but. Big but. Belief says it all, really. This one is... Hon? Honey? I shrunk a house. Shouldn't this checklist get a thumbs up? Grow an extra horn by now? Save up a little extra cash, hon? Babe? Sweetie? My sneaky self-same puppet? Look, I am moved to confess I ate the last of our money to produce this section of open-ended debate, but I invented punishment instead. By accident. I'm sorry, hon. Want some? This is from a poem. This is still from Hello Call, or I'm sorry, this is still from Try Me, the manuscript.
You almost said the name of your show.
Who want to do that? I get a lot of shareholders on our ass. Can't be doing that without a clearance. You know, but moving along with the poem, Try Me, Try me. I'm sustainable, baby, 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 baby. A zillionfold, varyingly. Sigh. A zillion doves split my lip and crap white ribbons on the ATM. Don't. Just don't. Think about the mass of sour cream and onion ground into a small, wet ball. A vague, small, wet ball in the middle of your mouth as you're chewing. Think about the flavoring. Think about your favorite movies. Think about just hanging out with old friends. Now think about your only friend in the movie, that small, wet ball. Now try not to. To be continued. As he holds up the burger next to the picture of the burger, and his shrug is freeze-framed. That's so lame. But it's okay. Sometimes they're incredibly lame, and but they'll work in the sequence. I can feel it.
Are those from Try Me too?
Yeah.
So they get a great deal. Well, I was under the impression that they were mostly brief.
Well, they're in
Kind
a
of
few sections.
snippets of-
One of them is Try Me. One of them is Cover Me.
Okay.
And the other one is called A Go. But I'm juggling them for some
Okay.
reason.
Like it's a go,
Yeah, it's A Go.
but
Yeah.
just one word.
And you could say A Go too. That's what I mean. It's like you can
That's
look
another one of those things like a vow.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if there's a name for that linguistic, whatchamacallit.
Oh, there's got to be.
Yeah, we'll try to find that out.
We'll
sometime.
check on that. Nick, could you get on that? Cute. Plenty of healthy people, people, make a pocket call. Errands increase the pleasures of anonymity. Computers are accessible but assholes. The cute is worse.
Accessible but assholes.
Click. Mr. Computer says no. So you just say no, Dad. It's all a liability, feasibly, City Billy. Ball is a lesser key feature. Plus, consider justice a bonus. I don't know. Should I keep going with these? I mean, they go on forever. Or 10:50. Good Christ.
I was gonna ask you if you could give us a recap of today's Hello Caller.
Well, it's hard to do that. It's well, no, actually, it's not. It was a behind-the-scenes all-access episode. It was totally behind-the-scenes, VIP, and we.
How did this come together? Did you have to reunite a lot of old crew members from Hello Caller?
Yeah, we reunited. No, we just like the idea of, because I like taking a form that's like popular from like TV and media, and then you do your own version. And our version was the behind-the-scenes version. So we decided to
it's a
find
very popular DVD extra
It's a
feature.
DVD. Well, that's a little bit different because it's like all access. Like we're gonna take you back. Let's look at the. You know what I mean? It's like a little different.
It's all
So
access.
we were doing that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what we were doing. But shoot. Actually, do you think I could try one more thing before we go?
Sure.
I wanted to try this.
We
piece.
got like probably 5 minutes.
This is just an excerpt of another of my pieces that I did, and this is a really nice magazine, Bright Pink Mosquito, and
Yes.
some of Mike's sample poems were in another issue, and the excellent editors Whit Griffin and Andrew Hughes from Massachusetts do this nice book, and this is an excerpt from a poem that I guess, I don't know, somebody who writes about poetry would say is an anti-epic or a mock epic, but luckily I don't understand enough about that category of literature to know. So it's not.
It comes in handy to not know that sometimes.
It comes in handy to not know things. This poem is an epic poem of my ignorance. So this is intermission at the end of Hauser, and I'll stop. I'll just do an excerpt from this poem. Intermission, or verses. Gideon versus sales tax. Edison versus Westinghouse. Caveman versus Gollum. Pharaoh versus Pegasus.
Analog versus digital. Basic versus applied. Kramer versus Kramer. Zenith versus Panasonic. Regular versus unleaded. Monolith versus Portagon. Abraham versus Maspero. Ivanhoe versus Dupree. Archimedes versus Gandalf. Acme versus Rosebud.
Joe versus Isis. Blake versus Einstein. Tops versus Fleer.
Toyota versus Cherokee.
Odalisque versus Crankshaft.
Eldorado versus 76 Ford Pinto.
Dr. Moreau versus Gravel Goody.
Crusoe versus Delver. Congress versus Decepticons. P.T. Barnum versus Geronimo.
Child Roland versus the Great Lakes Loan Service Limited.
Yukon Cornelius versus Jolly Green Giant.
Mildew versus Magic Carpet Ride.
St. Jerome versus the Argonauts. Sir Newton versus Avalon.
Lady Liberty versus Ectoplasm. Captain Nemo versus the Talmud versus Economic.
Pope Gregory IV versus Frederick II. Dunn versus McCarthy's Ghost. Kim Cole versus Fanbase. Ashland versus Ponchville versus Muskego. Fox Point versus Piggly Wiggly. Valhalla versus Shoki. New England versus Spellgate.
Quetzalcoatl versus Silicon Valley.
Mordor versus Oakland. Sleepy Hollow versus Wrigley Field.
Dinotopia versus Kingdom Come. The Kettle Moraine versus the Moon of Endor.
Camelot versus Pick and Save. Hyperboreala versus Hyperboreala versus Sarnath.
Lake Wobegon versus Uthar.
Jericho versus the Battle of Badoo.
Walmart versus 7 Mile Fair. Springfield versus Color Wheel.
Sherlock Holmes versus Bing Crosby.
Francis Scott Smith versus Ben Franklin versus Otto von Bismarck.
Buck Rogers versus Admiral Cockburn. Thomas versus King Kong. Galactus versus Godverse. Blackout versus Greenspan versus Ringwood. Minerva versus Jabba. Autopilot versus the Cheshire Sphinx. Boswell versus Stutterpack. The Seawolf versus Heidi.
Old Hickory versus Grand Slam Breakfast. FDR versus the Duzant Brothers. Hamilton versus the Pirates of the Caribbean.
Mom and Pa Kettle versus State Farm Insurance. Bruce Monk versus George Bailey. Will Abner versus Yellow Submarine. Rip Van Winkle versus Residential Green County Real Estate.
Opar versus Tarzan and the Tarzan Twins. John Muir versus Seaman.
Ming the Merciless versus Oppenheimer.
Jack Horkheimer versus Tommy Lasorda.
Emerald City versus the Pentagon. Department of Commerce versus Transaction History.
Knowles versus Blaine. Steppenwolf versus Erasmus versus Diogenes.
Bunnicula versus Motormouth. Prince Valiant versus Moonweaver. Allen versus Perpetua. Mac the Knife versus Dayton. The Roman Maniple versus the Macedonian Phalanx. Martha's Vineyard versus the Elysian Fields. Bridges Garage versus Axel's Castle. 911 versus the Pond.
Cubism versus Softcore.
Surrealism versus 40-Foot Woman. Bowen versus Nightcrawler.
Dolly versus Disney. Spicer versus John Paul and George.
Duncan versus Ringo. versus Paul. Paul Boone versus Oprah. Bacchus versus Dilbert.
Dauphine versus Boxcar Kids.
Alabama versus Crypto Nazi versus Pirate Cable.
Vassal versus Unic.
Babs versus Rose.
Nicodemus versus Kansas.
Oneida versus Oneida versus McGuanago versus Ixonia.
Roswell versus Chatham. Connecticut. USSR versus Iowa.
Walgreens versus Blue Cross. BP versus Neptune. GPO versus 8%. Bubs versus Joe. God versus McGod. Calyx versus Inertia. QA versus QLP. CO2 versus Loophole. Gia versus Zool.
Wow. Thank you for that. I think we better wrap it up. I don't want to be keeping Tom here too long. He's got to close up the store. But thank you for listening, and thank you for coming, Zach.
Sure.
I anticipate having you as a guest in the future if you feel like it.
Well, I put in my resume, and I'm excited about the interview.
Okay, I'll check with Carol and HR.
About it.
We're getting a little cross connections here. Thank you for joining us, and take care of yourself. And please listen next week when my guest will be. I have no idea who. Good night.
I just realized this was unplugged. That's why I couldn't hear myself through the thing. Oh, that's all right.